NetsChat. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of NetsChat. As you know, we are, well, if you don't know, I'm gonna tell you, we are in our Sex Miseducation series and we are at episode 4. So today we're gonna talk about STDs and STIs. Make sure you cock your ears because I know that someone who love the sex but unafraid of pregnancy and unafraid of the diseases. So pay keen attention.
With disease.
Don't make me laugh, then listen to something to talk about. So, you know, we have Danielle as always. She's here with us. Hey, Danielle.
Hi.
And we have Richard Plummer, who is going to introduce himself, and he's our guest for today.
Hi, everyone. Richard Plummer here, Project and Community Engagement Officer at the Jamaica Network of Seropositives, also known as Jane Plus. We're an advocacy organization where we advocate for the rights and concerns of people living with and affected by HIV.
Period. So
It's you in the back.
yes. So he's here to have a discussion with us about, you know, breaking the stigma of people thinking that, you know, people who have infections and diseases are unclean. And so some questions the guys says on Instagram and some myths that I have on my phone. So yeah, make us start. I'm going to start with our first question though. And I think this has to be the first question because a lot of people don't know, and I've seen it before. Is there a test that can tell if you have an STI or STD?
Definitely. There are several tests that can test if you have an STD or STI. Like for HIV, there's a special test, with blood tests. And some persons, they may do the rapid test, which you know, like the anti-aging test. But if you do a blood test, it's also known as the Western blood test to test if you're HIV positive or not. Also, you have different tests to test if you have gonorrhea, if you have syphilis, if you have herpes, chlamydia. And it varies as well because it can be, the most important thing to do is to test it using a blood sample, whether it's a vial or a milliliter of blood. It's very important. So definitely there have to be a test. And like in America, hopefully Jamaica will have it where you have self-test, like you can purchase on Amazon as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so there's... Yeah, definitely. So while Americans are more responsible, so if you're found to be reactive or positive to an STI or HIV, persons will go in and they will get treatment as well, because there are laws if you do transmit sexual transmitted infections to someone without their knowledge, you can be penalized as well.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And partially in Jamaica, really. So it doesn't explicitly state, but...
Okay. All right. Understood.
I saw it on Being Mary Jane when she was going to have sex with this guy that she met at the club. And before they could have sex, she pulled out this test and say, you know, I want to enjoy the sex. So, you know, let's both of us just do it. And he's like, you have a home test. And she was like, you don't. So that's when I knew that it was a thing. And I was like, oh my God.
That's interesting.
People can, I didn't know where you buy it, but I know that she had it on it. And it was very interesting. And Americans are actually more responsible in that way. And I feel like a lot of people are really afraid to do testing. I was one of those people.
Yeah, so they're afraid to know the truth, yeah.
Yeah, definitely so, because just to think about it, like in 2018, there was a joint select committee said that, okay, we need to have a law that is specific to the criminalization of HIV in the sense where persons willfully and recklessly transmit HIV. However, we do have a legislation that speaks to bodily harm as well. And once interpreted, it said that, okay, if persons know that they're HIV positive or have a sexual transmitted infection or disease, and they knowingly or willfully give the person that infection, that person can be prosecuted as well. Okay. And I think it's found a section 22 under the Offenses Against the Persons Act. So a lot of persons may say, oh, I didn't know this, but as in if someone knows they're HIV positive or have an STI and you willfully do it, and basically they can prove that, okay, you have it and you willfully give them, then definitely you can go prison for it or basically pay a fine.
I have a question. Is it more common than people think it is? Like people knowing that they have these infections and diseases and also HIV and they willingly go and pass it on to other people?
Well, to be honest, there's a lot of behavior and practices of persons out there that know about their HIV status, even persons that are HIV positive, and they will admit that, oh, I didn't know, but because so-and-so give me, and them and them cousin or them and them friend, make us sleep with a friend or them friend.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's
That's
a lot
so
of practices, or the person that face stigma and discrimination or gone through a phase where they have suicidal thoughts or they feel really, really depressed. They said, okay, I just feel very nonchalant about my health and I just want to go out there and I just feel like to have a lot of risky sex. So
yeah, because they feel like they're going through something, so they want somebody else to go through it as well.
Definitely. So it's not about as in the person literally want to go. Basically, the person may suffer from some form of mental health illness as well. So it's very important that persons who have been tested for STIs, STDs are counseled before and after, even if they're negative or non-reactive, because based on their interpretation, based on the counseling, you can find out if they engage in on risky behavior or they have high exposure to sexual transmitted infection. And it's also important that in the same breath that we need to understand that even if you know of a friend or a family member or you hear persons having rumors or gossips about people who, oh, she shot me or him shot me or them have AIDS or the AIDS body girl had AIDS, we have to be very mindful that this can, as always said, drop our foot. And anybody can get a sexual transmitted anybody, because you can in a faithful relationship, your man gone out there, your woman gone out there. Even in the case that even if you think about even lesbian couples, think about it. She might be a lesbian, but today she may be fluid and she want basically a date or something like to that extent. So we have to be very mindful of that. And stigma and discrimination do play a role, a very high factor, or maybe the most important factor, and also serious factor why persons do transmit HIV among other sexual transmitted infection, because they believe that, okay, I'm being stigmatized or I'm fear of being stigmatized or being disclosed. So they may engage in these risky behaviors even when they know that they have a sexual transmitted infection.
Oh. And a part of what you were saying before with, Americans being more responsible, so they'll actually go in and do what it is that they need to do once they found out that they have a virus. Here in Jamaica, because of the stigma, you don't really want to go to the doctor because people feel like they're constantly being judged everywhere they turn.
Yeah, not only that, we don't, currently there's an anti-discrimination bill. So there's not much of a legislation or a policy in place currently to protect persons if they face stigma and discrimination. Okay. So, for example, if someone faces stigma and discrimination in the sense of their HIV status or based on their sexual orientation, you have to look on different laws or different precedents, different cases or statutes that may be linked in regards to what exactly is linked for the person to commit discrimination. And you have to use that law or that precedent to basically to prosecute or to basically advocate on behalf of that individual. Yeah. So it's not only about behavioral practices, but also are there protection for the person. There's not much social protection. Even when we look on women, there's a lot of women that, she want to pay the rent. So she go out there and she meet one man and the man knowingly saying bad, maybe not know him have HIV or other STI. And she's not able to negotiate condom use. And she engage in that. And the man use it against her. And financial abuse is something that is real. A lot of people always talk about psychological, physical, and emotional abuse. But financial abuse is definitely real. And it's a type of abuse that women face day in, day out as well. Because if you're going to use your finances, going to use the money to bribe them to have sex, you're actually abusing them. Eventually, there will be some emotional trauma to it. And physical may come into play as well. And that can also be a driving factor for other sexual transmitted infection and HIV as well. Especially if the woman is aware of her HIV status and she's trying to be adherent to that, or she recently have a sexual transmitted infection and she doesn't want to engage in unprotected sex, but she need $50,000 to pay her rent. She need $50,000 to provide for her family. And sometimes we have to remind them that we have to think about the greater risk, because while you have an STI, you can also be reinfected with that STI. And that can further break down your body. And a lot of people don't know that HIV is not, before working at Jane Plus, I usually think that once I have HIV or you have HIV, we cancel out each other. No. There's two types and you can get reinfected. Types, yeah. So you're on your medication, you do well, and there's 3 lines to the medication. They have line 1 and, the sex nice and, you know, you go and everything and the back is nice and everything. And you realize, say, oh, I get reinfected with HIV, me da do well, and boom, I can't take the medication again. Every other medication they put me on, it just not work. My viral load just go up and I go up and I go up and I go up. Or basically, me have syphilis and I get syphilis again. And another 3 set of penicillin. One this week, one next week, one the other week. And if persons can tell if them do penicillin shot, is 1 pound each jaw, and every week you have to do it. And it's very painful.
When it's a jaw, like,
yeah, but
both.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That.
I don't love that either. But to answer the question like really quickly though, the question that somebody asked, there is a test that you can do. You can go to your doctor, you can request it. It's called the STI 9 test. The test for 9 different STIs and STDs and a lot of other stuff. You can also, I think they do it at a biomedical lab. It's a pee test, so you know they don't draw blood. Because I've done it. So you pee in the cup and they use a pee to test. But it's very pricey though. It's $15,000, you know. But it gives you a peace of mind, you know, when you do a test, and they also do the blood test for HIV and syphilis as well. So if you want to do it, I think I saw somebody tweet it like 2 years ago, and yeah, I know it was a thing. So if you want to do it and you don't necessarily have the money now, you can save your coins and then get the lab, what's it called, referral from a doctor, and you can go and do the test.
Not only that as well, you can also do it free at any public health facility. They can test it for other the 9 STIs along with HIV and syphilis. So and other STIs as well. They can check it for HPV. Although normally they get HPV vaccines to younger teens, females, but you can go to facility like a public health facility as well and check if you have HPV as well. And also, when persons talk about HPV, you can be a virgin and have HPV because there are different ways that's how you can contract HPV. So basically, maybe can touch. So it's very contagious, but in the sense where persons who have already have are sexually active, they can also check if they have HPV as well. So both male and female, but it's more prevalent in females. So that's why they started with teens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Human papilloma virus. So.
Okay, so I have a myth that I just want to debunk real quick. So I'm going to ask you. So, which part today? Oh yeah. So a lot of people believe that they would know that they have a STD or STI or anything because it would show. So them say they're not getting a test. Or you have people who, let's say, they're in a relationship and I do a test and you're like, oh, you clean, so me not gonna do a test, so call me clean too. And I want people to not think like that because a lot of people do think that. I know somebody who has done that and I was like, you ever been tested? They're like, no, but people I've been with have been tested, so me know, so me good. And you don't know because a lot of times, sometimes, you don't show anything, or maybe you're just like a carrier because, you have people who carry it. So please address that because I think they need to know. I believe people are thinking this like sickle cell, like carriers. Well, actually, STIs along with HIV, they are very, very smart. So a lot of females may get a lot of signs and symptoms that they may have syphilis or they may have gonorrhea and they may think, oh, yeast. So I'm going to my doctor. And some doctors will say, oh, yeah, man. And them basically not even observe and them just say, okay, a yeast infection and give some antibiotics and say, okay, yeah, treat it for yeast. But very mild and signs and symptoms come similar to other illnesses, like flu-like symptoms, like you may have HIV and you have flu for a week or two. And in this current climate, you might be thinking of COVID you have. Say, okay, you might have a sexual transmitted infection. Because you can have fever, headache, rashes. There's loss of appetite as well. You can feel fatigue. And quite possibly you maybe have COVID. You might have chronic sinusitis. You may have some form of other sexual transmitted infection. You maybe have HIV. So it's very important that's why when most of the times when persons have these symptoms, it's very important to do a blood test versus an antigen test or a urine test, because the blood test definitely will show.
They'll show what is going on.
Definitely will show. And persons don't need to spend their $1,500 because even if they don't want to go to a Ministry of Health facility because they are fearful that their HIV status or someone at the facility may disclose their information. There are other entities like Ashe Company. You have Jamaica AIDS Support for Life. And I personally have taken persons on a Saturday when there's nobody in the lobby for them to get tested once you request it and everything. Also, there are different entities that partner with us privately. You have UA chairs as well by UA where persons can go and get tested. And it's easy and it's smooth if the person is fearful that someone will see them and send them come do an STI test or HIV test. We at Jane Plus can make the referral, can make the linkage. I personally have done it before where I visit a company person on a Saturday for them to do the test. So actually, it's definitely a myth that persons know signs and symptoms are, and we don't say people are clean or not clean because if they're HIV positive or not, can you tell if they are HIV positive? Can you tell if they have a STI or not? It's just basically they're infected with a virus or they have contracted a virus. And once on treatment, they can live long. And even other persons who have cancer, diabetes may pass on before them as well.
But where people get this notion that you're unclean because you have, STI, STD, but I think it's kind of like shaming people.
I think the stigma of it all is kind of taught over time.
Yeah, I think
because it's just a taught thing over time. So you find yourself saying those things about people and you're wondering where you even get that from. But it's just terminologies that you'll hear people associate with people who have STDs. And, as you said, once it is that you receive the treatment that you need, you can live. Yeah. You can live well.
Yeah, and just exclude HIV. Think about someone that have syphilis. So if you have syphilis, even when you're treated for syphilis, you'll do a test and it will still come back as reactive. So what they do is to test the ratio. So if your ratio was 1 to 64 and your ratio gone down to 1 to 16, that means that the treatment has worked. Mm-hmm. And what you need to do is to go back in the next year and do a checkup. And if you realize it moved to 1 to 8, that means that the ratio has reduced. So that means that you're properly treated and you have not been reinfected with syphilis as well. So a lot of persons, there's a misconception because you can meet a girl or a guy where would have had syphilis long in the past and you're doing a test now. The person is negative to HIV, but it shows that it's reactive if the person go in with you and if you choose not for it to be private with your partner. However, if persons are not aware, even the person that would have contracted syphilis years ago, that they check their ratio and once their ratio has decreased, that person have treated and no longer have syphilis. But it's just show that basically it will show reactive in the body. Pardon?
If syphilis is lifelong, it'll always be in your system.
It will always be in your system. That doesn't mean that necessarily it's there. Because once you're treated and treated properly, so you can use a combination of penicillin along with antibiotics. Or if persons are allergic to penicillin, they can use antibiotics as well. And what they do after you have taken antibiotics, they ask you a series of questions and they test you again for syphilis. If the ratio has decreased, then that means that it has worked efficiently. And what they would ask you to do is to come back in another year to check if the ratio has decreased. Because they also counsel you on risky behavior, importance of safer sex. And we at JM Plus, we talk about the 3 C's. Correct, consistent condom use. And we can't stress that anymore, especially during the time of Safer Sex Week. It's not about, preventing against STI or HIV, but unwanted pregnancy as well. And these are things that can create a lot of psychological impact on other individuals. So it's very important to practice that.
Okay. So what about people what do you have to say to people who think that STIs will go away on their own? So they don't necessarily treat it. Because you have some people who will be feeling a little bit of itching down there and they just disregard it because there are people like that who exist. Even if you wouldn't do it personally, and some people, as I said before, are like afraid, so they just wait and say, all right, this will go by itself, and I'm gonna just keep it there.
Okay. That very important that you say that a while ago, and that's why I said they are very smart. They will go away. You can have lesions for the males on your penis, and it go away, and you on your vagina can have spots or you have itchiness. And then it goes away and you say, oh, I'm fine, and everything work and the already work. Actually, the virus is just basically at one stage. When it do come back, it's at a second stage. And that second stage, like for syphilis, if it reach like the 3rd or the 4th stage, can use the blindness.
I was just about to say.
Yes.
Syphilis is on team blind.
Yeah. So it can lead to a lot of damage of different organs as well. Like HIV, there's something called the clinical latency stage of HIV or the chronic stage, which is the second stage. And what most persons don't know that, when you have the flu-like symptoms, you take the Panadol or the multi-symptom and you say, oh, I'm good. I just want like a flu. You can, if your immune system is very strong, like them old people, the immune system back in the days, you can have HIV all up to 12 years, 13 years, and you don't have no signs and symptoms. Then boom, you reach the last stage, which we call advanced HIV. Rather not to say AIDS, because, AIDS kind of seem a bit derogatory for some persons or seem very blunt. But as in, once you reach a stage...
so their face, Daniela? Yeah. No, she's very surprised by this information.
Yeah, definitely. That's why it's important that you get a test, because you can come into
tested, guys.
Yeah, get tested regularly. No. And not because you look good.
I don't like that either. I was wondering if you're going to bring that up, Natania, when people say, him not look like him have AIDS. Is it crack cocaine? No one can look like they have anything at all. Yeah. Like how I just don't go around and assume that people beside it don't have COVID. No, man, shouldn't have it. No, it's impossible to know what is going on the inside. So it's always important to take all of the necessary precautions with people. Okay, one of them look good, and the only claims to people who maga at them have it. Jamaicans have some real interesting beliefs, like really and truly, they can't even slim in peace.
You can't slim in peace, but I really want to hear the rest of it, 12, 13 years, and then boom, you reach a second stage. Like, you have to continue on that path.
Definitely, because not saying it can be more, because I've met persons that have HIV for 32 years, and they were off medication for 17 years. So, and they said that their immune system was doing really good. However, most of those persons normally get really, really ill. And it's by the grace of God that they're still alive, because some have tuberculosis, and tuberculosis is classified as opportunistic infection. So when your viral load is too high and your white blood cells are really, really low, and you develop at least 2 major opportunistic infections, such as tuberculosis, brain meningitis, lymphoma, lung cancer, just to name a few, or you have recurrent pneumonia, meaning that you have 2 episodes of pneumonia in 1 year, that alone can bring down the immune system, and you can reach a stage of AIDS or advanced HIV. So it's very important that when persons say, the person they look clean, or the person don't look clean, or the person they slim, or the person they fat, anybody can have HIV. And if people who have rashes, we have to understand that people might be able to cancer treatment, people might be able to suffer from eczema, or taking basically some form of medication, or a rash is a side effect. This can also cause them to look a particular way, and person might say, them have AIDS, or them are dead, or them AIDS.
Jamaican people quick for say I got dead,
so quick to these things. That's I said is a learned thing.
Yeah, and also persons can be at the stage of AIDS and live longer after, especially when they start adhering to their medication and get the proper treatment. And HIV treatment is actually free in Jamaica, and it's actually covered by the government. Most people don't know that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Most people don't know that. And that has been since 2016.
Oh.
Yeah. So when people say, but I'd rather have cancer over HIV, actually, I will say to them, rather you have HIV still, because...
And can we not pick a disease?
Can we just pick a disease to have?
Can we pick health?
Yeah, let's just be healthy.
Yeah.
But pick health. Yes.
Definitely, because you want to live long still.
Yeah,
but why I made the connection really is not to say that, not picking health. Mm-hmm. And I like how you say, let's pick health, because health and wellness is very important. And what we need to understand that you can have a sexual transmitted infection. You see the signs and symptoms that come, and if we Google them, we realize that the signs and symptoms. And don't say that, disregard them if you have the itchy, because what you may think is a yeast or a case of a urinary tract infection can actually be a STI.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we need to be very mindful of that as well.
What would you say to the people who panic Google stuff? Because I feel like...
I don't like how you look in my eye.
No, but as I was saying, I feel like there are a few people like that in the room, but then you really just...
I've done that before.
When you Google stuff and you have none of these symptoms, but you are going on a spiral, what would you say to these people? Because I feel like they need some sort of like consolation to take it down.
All right. Before working with JM Plus, I usually Google stuff and I usually spiral as well. It's very important that you use credible resources. That's why when we go to school, them tell us, say, use
No, she meant sorry because she's looking at me.
You use references, scholarly references. So for most persons, if it's not from the World Health Organization, WHO or CDC, or other entities like UNAIDS, people that have credible stuff, and where you can Google these stuff, you realize that there's a lot of reference to these studies. Don't really follow, because it's not everything on WebMD is actually true.
I was about to say to you, not Web...
Not WebMD.
Yeah, not everything on WebMD is actually true. Not saying that it's completely false.
Okay.
Yeah, and we know that Wikipedia people can change, like how people change macadamia age. So
Father God is me again.
So basically, they need to call the Ministry of Health, and they're really, since COVID, there's always someone there to answer as well. Also, you have their social media page. If you're not getting through for whatever reason, go and visit a health clinic. And as I can tell you, it's very free. And most health clinic, like on a Monday or Wednesday. And if there's a health clinic that is attached to a hospital, it's Monday through to Friday.
Okay, go ahead.
No, wait in.
I was going to ask, like how the ministry has COVID to try and save us from, they would still be answering questions about other conditions on the phone? Or is it just like it's COVID time? Well, so that's the focus.
Well, the COVID line is mostly focused to
COVID, but there's another line that you can call.
Definitely, you can call. You can call. Also, if you go there, yes, you can see a list of health centers and other health department as well. If you're not getting through on a Saturday, it would be best for you to go to. If it's not really an emergency, you can wait until a Monday or the next public holiday. The next day, if it's a public holiday. To ensure that you get yourself checked out, and not request pee test, a urine test, request a blood test, and it's free. And do not show up like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock because they have to send it to the lab if it's a test.
Yeah, after a certain time
has to be done at a certain time. But most of these tests are done within 15 to 45 minutes or an hour max. As well.
Okay.
And if somebody in counsel you, ensure you get the proper counseling, because counseling is very important.
Very important.
Yeah, you said that counseling is important. Like when I was growing up, a few times when I've been to the doctor, I'd always see the little sign on the wall saying like, free HIV test and counseling. And I'm like, growing up, I was like, they need to counsel people for this. Like, remember I said them time that I'm like 11, 10. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I'm like counseling. And when I go to do my tests and stuff, when I go get tested, nobody counsels me, even though like, I'm like negative, and I heard you say it earlier, that even if you are negative and not reactive, they still should counsel you before and after, but it's just like, oh girl, later. And so what I'm saying is that even if you are negative, what is the importance of counseling? Even though you still have that peace of mind, but yes, we're still supposed to get counseled regardless. Yeah,
it's very important to get counseling because persons, especially persons that are youth and women, they're also at risk. And according to the World Health Organization, youth are classified as key population. Women are classified as key population as well, meaning that they have a prevalence rate of contracting HIV and other sexual transmitted infection. So although you're negative, that doesn't mean that, okay, you should not be counseled, because there are different factors. Are you someone that drink a lot? Are you someone that smoke a lot? And substance misuse can also affect your judgment. You may engage in unprotected sex. This unprotected sex can also be a gangbang. It can also be in the case of a one-on-one. It might be something that that you're not comfortable with, oral sex. And a lot of females out there don't know, a lot of males don't. There's oral gonorrhea as well. Mm-hmm. So while in the case that can go away by using a lot of mouthwash and Listerine at an early stage, that can develop as well, and you can get given oral sex to someone else, and you can transmit the virus without even knowing. So we're getting little signs and symptoms. So it's important that you educate persons who are negative so that they can remain negative. Yeah. And also remaining negative, they can also educate other persons to remain negative. And if those persons are engaged in such risky behaviors, there can be some form of positive behavioral change as well. So it's very important at counseling. And the World Health Organization said that for you to do a test with someone, counseling is one of the C's that needs to take place.
Definitely. And also, even when you go to purchase morning after pills, that you have to get counseled for that as well. So there is a discussion. So I saw pharmacists on Twitter actually talking about it the other day, that many people are just buying it, and you're gone home someone should have spoken to you before you purchased it as well as after, because for one, to make sure that you're administering the medication correctly. 2, to make sure that you understand that you're not supposed to be taking this more than a certain time for the year. So counseling actually goes along with many things, medication and tests alike. So yeah, very important. So you understand exactly what it is that you're doing and understand that you should not be back in this place for certain things like the morning after. And in the case of HIV, should make sure that, you stay on the right side of things. It's a discussion that you have to have with people, because just testing people and then saying evening, it doesn't leave anything with you. It's just like, okay, me get away so I can continue to live riskily and nothing gonna do me.
That's true.
Yeah, and also just to add as well, counseling, a part of the counseling should also be how to use a condom. A lot of us believe that, okay, pinch, leave an inch is actually how you put on a condom or a condom should be used. How many persons check for puffiness? How many persons know that you should not use your teeth? You should not use a sharp object. You should not use scissors. Also, a lot of the men, them say them are gallis and them a walk with condom in a them wallet and in a them back pocket and everything, and it should not be done. So counseling is not about, and a lot of females also believe, say, and the man for wear the condom or the man alone know for put on a condom. For me, that's just total rubbish, because as females and males, we should know if we use a condom, whether it's a male condom. And also, a lot of females don't know that, as in through entities like Jane Plus, they can get female condoms for free. And there's always someone in the office that can demonstrate how to put on a female condom. While they can't use a male condom and a female condom at the same time, you can also use a female condom, and the man can get a whole heap of pleasure from it, because actually him out of the condom and him can basically have pleasure, but she have a female condom and protect each other. Yeah, so
that's very interesting. Like, I like when I learn, when I ask. So I feel like a lot of things for people, and I'm not going to say only Jamaican, but I can only speak on Jamaica because my experience, is the privacy of it. And I feel like that's a lot of people don't really go to get tested, because they're like, I don't want in my business, and I don't want, somebody else know. If it's positive, I don't want somebody else knows that me have this. And it's like, how do you ensure the confidentiality of being, tested and not worrying, so you got area information out on the road?
Well, in regards to confidentiality, for the entities and for while a lot of persons have concerns, and it's not only has to do with HIV or STIs, but it has to do with the health system as well. And there's a lot of persons that will come with their own moral and personal beliefs and say, I should disclose this or I should tell someone, because nobody now going to find out. But what I can tell you from where I stand, that the rooms you can't hear when other persons are there. You don't even know. Some of the rooms or you enter to where you exit is different. So nobody don't know exactly where you're there for. And what they try to do is testing along with other stuff at the same time, so it seemed like a one general clinic or general hospital you go to. So nobody don't know exactly where you're
question, also I don't even think that it's really just the fact that, you're all there and you see somebody go in and whatever, like embassy, so they never get the visa. But I think that people also think that healthcare professionals are not professional. And I can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that people actually believe that healthcare professionals are out to get you and are going to share your information with other people. Because I've seen healthcare professionals act out of pocket on social media.
Yeah, that's true.
They come and discuss things that happen to patients. So that's really, I think, what people are afraid of. The fact that Netanya is my doctor, Netanya is very popular, she has a social media, Netanya can be like, Lord Jesus, the one, Daniel, she... Not
even the popularity, because, the severity of what happened, is really bad as well. So it's like when things are severe and it go on the internet, it just take one person to catch it,
True.
And I remember, I think it was about 2 years ago, this guy tweeted how your patient, one of his patients saw him and never said anything to him in person. He's like, oh girl, I just cured you of a STD.
Oh, it was last year.
It was last year? I think it was 2019.
Oh, no, 2019. 2019.
And people were upset because you're like, you trust a doctor. And
here he is.
And here he's a doctor online saying that him seeing a real life, and I tell people saying the same birth that after him carry STD, you have the audacity to ignore him. Yeah, my doctor, I'm not have to talk to you in a real life if I don't choose to, but why are you going to be so petty as to come and load me up? That when it's confidential information, so that's, I agree with Daniel.
Yeah, that's when healthcare professionals are not professional.
Yeah, they're not professional all the time, so people are afraid to come in and do stuff like that. I don't know me.
Yeah, but that's true. That's true as well. There are persons that have done that before, but they have to be very careful. And the conversation need to be censored. So even as a health professional, if they're coming to have like different conversation and they said, oh, this I had a patient, they have to be very careful of how they do it. But as health professionals, if they do it and there's some evidence towards breaching confidentiality and privacy, they sign an oath. So
I should just report the person. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
you can report the person.
That's all I get in from.
Yeah, you can report the person, definitely.
No, but for real though, because guys, for real, when you see healthcare people acting anything but professional, make sure to report it. It is in our hands to make sure that only the right and proper people are a part of that profession. So report it. Nobody say, oh, child, I can't bother, or oh, it no matter, me alone him do it too. You alone is the start. Anytime you feel like a healthcare professional is not being professional, report it.
Yeah, definitely so, because there's definitely a department called the client complaint mechanism that basically persons who feel they were mistreated, whether stigma and discrimination, if they're fearful that the information has been leaked or there's some form of breach of confidentiality and privacy from a healthcare professional, even if the person work in the records department.
I'm throwing hands.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
Definitely they can
report it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely report it, because a lot of people just say, oh, that's wrong, and they just tweet and tweet and tweet. But how many persons do actually report?
Yeah, guys, can we start to make a difference in 2021?
Let's start.
But can we make a difference? Because
no, if I see my doctor tweeting,
venting online, and we have nothing to show for it. So this year, can we show up and show it in real life? That'd be great.
And you can be done anonymously. So
yeah. So even if you don't want to,
so the person come and say, "Bomba, them really report me." Yes, my bad. Keyboard. Yes, I am. Me.
But I think we definitely should get more in the habit of trying to make a difference to other people. I always try to step back and look at things, bigger picture. It doesn't have to be about how it affects me. Because some people, for example, again, with the whole morning after thing, feel really uncomfortable when pharmacists, they say, give them judgy looks or make sly remarks about them buying it. And even though I would feel in a way, that doesn't mean that I should not report this person, because somebody else who could probably internalize this and take this hard could also get the same pharmacist. So I think we should all be thinking about each other.
That's true.
And how things will affect each other and make those reports all 2021. That's my message.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of persons don't realize there's a connection to mental health as well.
Yes.
If someone face stigma and discrimination, or their information has been leaked, and if it creates some form of harm, that person can actually sue that professional, and even sue if the pharmacies work with National Health Fund. National Health Fund is basically a government agency, along with the Ministry of Health. So they could sue them as well and sue the individual, and that individual can also be prosecuted. The Ministry of Health may have to pay a hefty sum as well.
Yeah.
So
stop people to the patients.
Yeah. So also think about that as well, and think about other persons as well. And healthcare professionals, if you're watching this as well, you do play a role in regards to how persons actually take care of themselves. That's a lot of persons don't want to go and do STI tests, HIV tests. Although HIV and STI tests have increased over the past few years, but a lot of persons don't have confidence in the health system, even when they become positive or reactive to this. So you realize that the transmission goes.
That is true. When I went to get my referral for my test, I did feel so afraid, Come here and say, I don't want my doctor thinks I'm out here. I'm having sex, but I don't want my doctor thinks I'm out here in the streets. I go on with myself. And, my doctor is very close in age to me. So when I went to her, I'm like, oh my God. Because she was like, Natanya, I really like your podcast and your message. She already know from the internet. So I gotta come see say, me want them something here. And then she was like, okay. And then she like explained everything to me, you know, tell me the best, like, you know, when to go get it. She's like, the lab is just right there. So, and she was so nice and encouraging. I mean, I said, I've got that to say right now because she really mad up the thing. And when I went to do the test, the person in the lab that was helping me was so patient and so kind. And I'm like, these people really exist.
Celebrated,
and I felt, never feel bad.
In below.
Yeah, I will. And then when I got my results and, you know, they called me, they're like, Natanya, I said, can't email it to me. They're like, girl, you have to come in to get it. And I was like, but I need some email. I can't come in and really have to face nobody. Suppose she was like, you know, you're rather me tell you that you're written an email and start like spiral. And I was like, you know, say it right. And when I went in and she was reading my results to me, she was like, I didn't really want to send an email, girl. You're not dead. She never said it. She never said that exactly, but that was just me paraphrasing. But really nice. Definitely gave me the confidence to say, I go back again, and I will do this again because, as you said, they do play a part in making you feel comfortable enough to, you know, ask for the test, do the test, and also collect the results and feel good about it. I mean,
and eventually persons they make referrals and realize. So I'm happy that you have that experience, and communication do play a role in regards to not only about confidentiality, because it can be a place where a lot of persons not there and just you and the doctor and nobody not hearing and it. But as you said, the doctor or the pharmacist might be judging. And they come with their own moral belief and they say, oh, you're a young girl and every minute you come with
I know my feelings, so I'm young.
I'm not feeling away, but I just don't want other people who are like, you know, who will internalize these things to go through that. That's what I'm saying. Because if me go to the pharmacist, I look at me and say, well, get a chain and have no sex. But so I can manage that. But other people really take these things hard based on the stories that I've seen on Twitter thus far. People actually feel really bad when they go to buy something. They don't want to buy it, or they want to ask friends to go buy it, or that don't look good.
Yeah, and just to touch on something that you said as well, results should not be given via WhatsApp, email, or over the phone, because not only about spiral, because what if you as a healthcare professional give the person the result over the phone and them kill themselves or kill somebody else? You'll be responsible for that. Because that's why a post-counseling is very important. Because what if the result is unfavorable? While you may not have HIV, you maybe have gonorrhea, maybe have syphilis. And based on the time span, you could say, oh, your ex-boyfriend or your girlfriend currently that you're dating. And then you will be very suspicious about them cheating. And then you think, say, okay, your brother them sleep with because your brother that complain about something. And then it creates a lot of problems. So it's very important that people assess individuals after their test results and to see, okay, where their mental space is. If they're able to go home in one piece and everything and not kill themselves. You'll be surprised. People go home and stab up themselves, mark up themselves, want to kill themselves. A lot of people in Jamaica don't believe that. Mental health is very, very serious, and it's very much connected to STI and HIV.
Okay, so this person on another question from Instagram says, if two partners are clean, and she put clean in quotes, I really appreciate that she put clean in quotes. So if two partners are clean, can an STI or STD start/develop from there, or is it always something that's transferred?
It has to be transferable, and like if both are clean and they have done a test, there are like human papillomavirus, HPV. Along with other certain STIs as well, you can be using a condom and the condom burst. And two other persons actually, as quote unquote, as she said, clean or not infected. One of the person, if they go outside and that happen, definitely they can transmit the virus. But it has to be transferable. Two persons have sexual transmitted infection. Not having sexual transmitted infection, my apologies. There's no possible way unless it's something that was reinvented or basically some form of biological thing came about where and one does develop it and
Okay.
Yeah. But it's very important that persons don't always believe, say, oh, my partner clean or my partner not have it. And we do a test last week or last year. You sure your partner never, when them go at the party and you never did sick? You sure your partner never cheat for you? When in the last week at the party.
Then he's looking specifically at you.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful.
I wonder if you know my man from somewhere.
Not necessarily, but I'm making conversation.
So how often? You don't know for true.
Really, I could have me go get way. I'm putting back myself. No man not give me no bun. I'm me a give bun. So I could have me go get way. You never know.
Yeah, or you may not have penetrated sex, and you maybe have oral sex, and persons may say, oh, as in it's just a simple head, or basically. But are you thinking
simple about head? Nothing is simple about head.
Yeah, but as in a lot of people say, oh, and a big deal or everything. Okay. But yeah, females can give male heads, and them. Yeah, I was giving an example because in the sense where think about it, she has a sexual transmitted infection. She have oral gonorrhea, as in she go down on the male, and basically he has like a blister or he has a open wound. On his penis or a bruise, and he wasn't aware of it, and she wasn't aware of it as well. And she, sometimes will brush her teeth and will gum and everything bruise up, and there's blood to blood transfusion there. Well, maybe see, okay, it's low risk. While it's low risk, it's still a risk of transmission, and a lot of people don't think about that. So when you find say females and males basically examine the vagina, or females examine the penis before them give head, give credit or give thumbs up to that person. Yeah, you can enjoy your head, enjoy your oral sex. Thumbs up to that as well, but ensure that it's safe and secure, and you do the proper examination.
Personally, if it don't look right, my mouth can't hide.
I'm going to tell you guys.
Like when it's tight around it, I examine. I gotta look. But question: how often should people actually get tested?
It's recommended to get tested at least once per year, but it's very important they get a test every 3 months. Reason for that: most STIs, including HIV, the window period falls between weeks up to 3 months. So if you have unprotected sex today and you're very frantic that, oh, you maybe have HIV or sexual transmitted infection, it takes 6 weeks up to 3 months before it actually can be detected in your blood. So you may go do a test tomorrow or next week and it show about non-reactive or negative. That doesn't mean that you don't have a sexual transmitted infection or you don't have HIV. You need to go back every 3 months and check. If you realize, okay, every 3 months I'm checking, you can say, okay, you're doing well. That doesn't mean that you're still not supposed to protect yourself. Safer sex is the best sex. Safer sex is
I forgot reading a book. Abstinence making a whole heap of sense based on this stuff.
Yeah, but we have to be real though.
Man.
We have to be real. We have to be real.
People
have sex and, say, as what Aishana say, when in the free sex are real, but as in you have a lot of people do transactional sex. And you have to
I believe.
And you have the transaction. I had the transactional sex.
Belief group. I believe.
And you have the transactional sex and you believe, say, oh, nothing will catch you and you use a condom and everything. And a lot of
believes that nothing is not going to catch them.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't believe, say,
where them get that strength?
Like, a lot of people believe, oh, all right, a lot of males believe, say, oh, me are packing me about 12 inch or 11 inch. But actually the condom can stretch beyond 12, 13 inches. So, and there are free condoms, like you have icon condoms. Or the male say, oh, him no want have sex because the condom kind of feel too thick and it kill vibes. There are also moods. There are very thin condoms as well.
You know what kill vibes? STIs.
STIs, yeah.
Definitely, because
that is the ultimate vibes killer.
Oh, and kids.
Oh, wow.
No.
Them brocky vibe go down a ground.
Yeah, like.
Why would you say kids though?
When you find out saying you're pregnant? Unwanted pregnancy?
That's the worst. I wouldn't say that because unwanted pregnancy do play a role because you have to think about the what a lady want to do an abortion or she wanted so it's a different conversation as well.
That is a different conversation.
That's a whole different conversation, and I guess you guys can speak more about that on your podcast. But children are very beautiful. If unplanned, ensure you go through the counseling. I'm not saying I'm an advocate for abortion, or I'm not, but I believe it's up to the individual. As in, it's not your choice. And while women may suffer through it and all, and they're the person actually carrying the child as well. Also, men do have a role, but a man should not say whether or not woman want to do with her body, because as she carry the baby, as she mentally ever go through it as well. While he might be go through it mentally and say him first youth, or him actually want a youth or more youth, but you have to think about the woman as well. As in, is it she might be not want a child, financially she might be go through a lot of depression as well. So on that case, I could say that unwanted pregnancy would be classified as an STI, but
vibes killer that
not just kill vibes.
That brought down vibes.
but for me, I love kids, so it doesn't matter really.
Aww,
Yeah,
sweetie.
really love- yeah, seriously, like
I love
any
kids, but
like
not
any
at this,
female,
not at this juncture.
like if any female get pregnant for me and the female don't want the child, I'd definitely be a single dad because me likes it. Yeah, me likes it.
Drop off the pitney.
No, you're not gonna drop off the pitney. You're not gonna drop
it.
You're not gonna drop off the pitney.
Oh, you're gonna pick it up.
No.
Period.
Let me just ask the last question before we wrap up. So the last question sent in on Instagram is, are there any STIs or STDs that condoms can protect against? If yes, how do you protect yourself?
Well, the other day I was in a session and that's how I learned about HPV, human papilloma virus. Actually, you can be a virgin and get it. It meaning that you don't necessarily have.
Somebody not safe?
So actually, it's not really safe, and there's a lot of science behind it. You basically can get it from touching, kissing, all of those lovely stuff. Do you use a condom actually when you're kissing? A lot of people even not even know about dental dam. There's something called dental dam.
There's a mouth condom.
And it you have flavor, you have banana, you have strawberry, you have different flavor. But a lot of people, oral sex, they might think about the pleasure, they're not think about the raw.
At risk?
Yeah, so everybody is at risk. And
Daniel.
yeah, so you can definitely use a condom, and person might be say crabs, say if you use a condom and the person have crabs, basically it still exists. It still exists.
Yes.
While it's not prominent in Jamaica or very prevalent.
It's a prey.
Yeah.
No, it's Martin saying if that still exists.
So
crabs?
yeah. So actually the person would contract crabs from someone else, even if they're using a condom. So it's actually so if they have basically on their pubic area, and they would jump from your pubic area to the other person's pubic area. So yeah, actually, it's possible.
No, I knew about crabs, but
yeah, that's very important. While a lot of people like it, bushy and forest, and all of that, it's very important that you examine down there and you even if you're not clean it off, ensure say you
do have crabs.
Yeah, and you check regularly. So it's possible. It's possible.
Guys, all I must say is stay safe out here because the world is scary, right? But Richard, I really do thank you so much for coming on. You are a very good guest. I learned a lot. I'm pretty sure our audience member learned too. Danielle shock face come up multiple times, so we know that she learned too. Yeah. If there's anything else you'd like to say, final words with the audience and where they can find, JN Plus, then you can let them know.
All right. Thank you guys. And thank you very much for having me. It was really interesting knowing persons have those questions out there. But something I just want to leave is something that I call actually my baby. A lot of persons don't know, but as in if you research this, U equals U, undetectable equals untransmittable. It's basically evidence-based, scientific-based, where persons living with HIV who has an undetectable viral load, where the viral load is below 20, which basically in a vial or a milliliter or a drop of blood, once the viral load is below 20, they are unable to transmit the virus sexually to anyone. And also women, females, how we use it, can also HIV positive. And once you have an undetectable viral load, and once you're on their medication as well, and also they get treatment for their baby up to 18 months after birth, there's no possible way of transmitting the virus. And also two HIV positive persons, or especially if they're undetectable, can produce an HIV negative child or infant. So that's something that I want your viewers to research as well. There's a partner 1 study, partner 2 study, along with other studies as well. And if they want to reach us to get further information as well, they can reach us at JamPlus on Instagram, at JN Sero at Twitter, or Jamaica Network of Seropositives on Facebook. We open Mondays through to Fridays. And Monday to Thursday is 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. On a Friday, we close at 4 p.m. Monday to Thursdays are 9 to 5, and on Fridays is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we're very interactive. We have a lot of other organizations that we partner with, JASL, Equality for All, ASHE. So even if we don't do the testing, we don't provide the services, we're able to refer you. And also we can accompany you as well if you want someone to accompany you as well. I personally have done that before, and other members of staff as well. So On that note, safer sex is greater sex.
Greater sex,
Yeah,
period.
no, have no fear. You can have sex same way, have your oral sex, but ensure so you do your research. Ensure so you
Get that dental dam.
Get that dental dam if you want to do the oral sex. Ensure so you get tested regularly. Recommended once per year, but as someone that have been working in the response, it's best that you get a test every 3 months for you to be sure. And never say that people are not clean because they have a sexual transmitted infection or they're HIV positive.
Exactly.
Because you actually can't say if the person actually is clean or not. No one is 100% clean. No one mouth is 100% clean. And we all have good and bad bacteria. So we need to remember that as well. Everybody is clean and everybody is at risk of contracting a sexual transmitted infection. And anyone can get HIV as well. But to prevent that, ensure that you do a test, do your research, and stay protected.
Cool. So thanks, guys, for listening to this very informative episode. You can remember to subscribe to the channel because there's 2 more episodes left in the series, and they're going to be very educational and very bomb.com. Remember to subscribe to Martin's channel as well at the Bombcast. Subscribe to Daniel at XOXO Daniel Renee, and subscribe to my personal one at NetsChat. All links will be down below, and share this message with a friend so we can keep the education going. And we'll see you guys next week on episode 5.